Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. Okay, so in today's we are going to be exploring Mars signs. Yes, we're going to be diving into all of the Mars signs through this perspective of, okay, motivation. How are you motivated? And also, I want to explore anger a little bit today. Yes, we're going to get into these. Please comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And let me know as well, what is your Mars sign? What is your Mars sign? So on that note, let's dive in. Let's talk about the Mars signs today. And I want to mention too, if you are interested in book reading with me, then you can do so by going to hannahselsewhere.com. There you can find all of my astrology products over there. Plus, I want to say thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon. So, over on my podcast, the Cosmic Check-In podcast, I talked about Mars in astrology, what Mars is all about, things like willpower, aggression, and sexual attraction. So if you want more in-depth information about Mars, to really grasp an understanding about, what is Mars all about, then make sure that you listen to that episode. So just a couple of things here before we do dive in. I just want to focus on a couple of practical applications, manifestations of Mars. So Mars can show us how and where we are motivated. So what motivates you? And where are you motivated quite a bit in life? And I want to mention a couple of things about motivation. So a person's motivations are defined by an inner drive or a need to move and to achieve their goals. When we feel motivated, we are more willing to take action, right? We're more willing to initiate. So for instance, this very video that I'm making, I felt a motivation to do it. Now, according to an instructor, Sherry Hartzell, it was Maslow who proposed that our motivation is a result of fulfilling 5 basic needs. So these 5 basic needs are psychological, safety, social, esteem, and self-actualization. It was Maslow who developed the hierarchy of needs theory in 1943. These 5 basic needs can impact our ability to put something into action, okay? So, such as kickstarting our day, deciding to write that book we've been putting off. And then I want to also just touch on anger a little bit today, because Mars is about anger and, survival. See, a person's anger explains a natural human emotion that is linked to our very survival. Anger can be beneficial in that we can express our frustrations and our dissatisfaction toward others. And we can also challenge others and stand up for ourselves. We can even decide to take action. Can you think of a time when you have been angry and it's your anger that kickstarts something for you, or it motivates you to take action? Even I think about a recent reel that I watched, and it involved a race. It was a group of women in a race, and one of them was so close, right, to being in front, and then she fell over. She got right back up. And she kept fighting. So she ran, and you should have seen this. I'm not sure if anyone's seen this reel, but it really spoke to me, and it just reminded me that you can get knocked down in life, but it's how you react to that. It can be that anger. It can be that even, hey, that determination, that will to go, not today, and then you move. Anger can help us find solutions to our problems. Yeah. However, when our anger is excessive, when it is unmonitored, right? When we do go too far with it, it's uncontrollable. Yeah, we can experience irrational outbursts. We can possibly be violent. Serious physical problems can have as well. I mean, high blood pressure. So do keep in mind that when it comes to anger and Mars, right? So Mars and anger in your chart, recognize that anger can be beneficial. It can be a beneficial part of our charts. And of course, then Mars is so much about our willpower. It's about our passion. It's about strength. But it's not necessarily about, you know, being the strongest person in the room. It's more about, okay, that fighting spirit within you. Yes, the fighting spirit. Mars is kind of like how we fight and where we fight. But I mean just that inner warrior, the fighting spirit that we have within us to, like, that runner, to get back up, to keep going. So Mars then really is about these things, and Mars is also about our physical energy, our energy levels, how much fuel is in the tank. And it's also about goal setting, how we set a goal and how we execute it, how we accomplish a goal. But you could also then look at it as the initiation period. It is that spark, how we drive forward. Mars is so much about self-assertion. Right. So now we have explained, what Mars is about. Let's get into each of the signs. Starting off then with Mars in Aries, folks. If you have Mars in Aries, you tend to be motivated by your desires to win and to beat any competition. This could be literally physically competing in a sport, or this could be a matter of you outbeating your personal best. I have observed this within people who have Mars in Aries. I have observed how they can be like this. They are continuously striving to outdo their personal best, to outdo the person that they were yesterday. There's always something new that you can even bring to the table. And you're also motivated by your passions and by your sexual urges, right? Whatever your sexual urges are, right? I mean, Mars can also be tied to our sex drive. So yes, you may be motivated by these things, and especially the passionate part. Oh yes, people who have Mars and Aries, you are so much about feeling and experiencing that passion and even just wanting to keep it going. Naturally, the thing about Aries is that Aries can be like this very strong force, but it can only go for so long, and then it needs to sort of step back for a bit and not take action. Maybe because if you have Mars in Aries, you may exhaust yourself. But the beneficial thing, I guess, about this is that whenever you're on, right? You are very go, 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 right? I've got this. I can do this. The passion is there. But then, yes, maybe it can be at times short-lived. However, here's the other thing. I think this is where the passion really speaks volumes, and how it is passion itself that motivates you more and drives you more. So the more passionate you are about something, the more willing you are to continue it or go back to it or whatever, or keep at it. And I would also say that, when it comes to winning, if there is a certain goal in mind that you have, right? and you're so set on that goal, achieving that goal, it is the thought of accomplishing it, achieving it, that I would say motivates you. And it is likely that others feel motivated by you too. Okay? Other people see your drive, they see your ambition. They see even how daring you can be, how brave you can be, and they feel inspired. They feel inspired by your ability to, hey, maybe there's a moment where you think this isn't the path for me, and then you change paths and you initiate something new. People feel inspired by that. They feel inspired by your ability to take a risk. Perhaps you even stand up for the underdog. You're all about this. If you see that someone is being mistreated or, talked down to, or there's, any unfair behavior in this way, you're like, no, not today. I'm going to stand up for that person. And you may have a ton of energy to burn, by the way, which again, you let out in quick, fiery bursts. So yeah, to the previous point I was trying to say, I think this is where it's important to have those. It's the huge bursts of energy, and then it's like, okay, you need to refill the tank there, kind of like a car. You could be sort of like, I'm thinking of an image. You could be in that race car and you're speeding around that track, go, 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 and it's exciting, it's accelerating. But then it also does run out of petrol eventually, doesn't it? Also, I think you want to keep doing what excites you too. And maybe as well, it's recognizing that there are just certain moments where you're not so excited. And that's okay, right? And those moments may feel like, restless. You could get moments of, oh, I should be doing this. I should be doing this. I should be accomplishing. But maybe it's just that the energy's just not there right now, because Mars is so much about our energy levels. So do keep that in mind. And maybe too, it's unlikely that you pace yourself. Maybe these are some things that you come to learn with time. It's really how to pace yourself, how to slow down a little bit. And the significant thing I want to mention about the Mars signs here is when we turn our attention to secondary progressions, of course, it depends on if Mars does turn retrograde in your chart, and so it can take longer, but you could eventually reach a stage in your life where the secondary progressed Mars enters Taurus. So with the secondary progressed Mars being in Taurus then, so more so, it depends on just the degrees of Mars and everything else, but throughout your life then, with Mars being in Taurus, you learn to slow down more, I think. I think you do learn lessons about how to pace yourself better and how to rest, how to relax. Moreover, you're typically quick to action, and at times you can be impulsive and you can be impatient. You might burn your bridges. And maybe this is also where the secondary progressed Mars entering Taurus throughout your life can be really helpful. But even with the secondary progressions aside, just it can be useful to learn from the next sign over, the next sign over in this regard, to think about, okay, well, how can I maybe slow down here and be a little bit more patient? Of course, you could already have planets in Taurus already, especially personal planets, which can help you with this. And when angry, you'll shout, you'll raise your voice. You even prefer direct confrontations. It's like just being very direct with people. You're annoying me, you're pissing me off, and you'll basically just let others know if they do something uncalled for. This is what we notice if you have Mars in Aries. Mars in Taurus, folks. So you tend to be motivated by things like materials, comforts, and your earning potential. Money could very well motivate you. And there's no shame in that. Let's just say that, okay, I've got Mars and Capricorn, and yeah, money motivates me a bit. but not at the expense of my sanity, just to say that. Yes, if you have Mars in Taurus, you could very well be motivated by a good pay, just good earnings, making sure that you have enough, making sure that you have plenty of resources to support yourself, to support your family, your loved ones, what have you. And you may really be motivated by even the comfort that comes with that, right? It's that, oh, I feel more comfortable, I feel more secure here because I have these things. And you may also sort of see certain work opportunities as perhaps like, so there could be an incentive, right? There could be a, well, because I'm working within this role for however how long, then I can rest, then I can relax. But I also have a peace of mind there. So you are motivated by relaxation. And I think too, you're motivated by being out in nature, you know, being close to the forest or the trees, gardening, being by the sea, just, yeah, you may really value nature, value your time out there, just close to nature. And that connection may be very important to you. You may also be motivated by, you know, it could even be food, could be food, but it could also be your talents, right? So a certain talent, a certain skill that you have, there's just such a motivation there. If you find comfort in it, if you love it, if you're passionate about it, because essentially Mars is about passion. But if you feel that passion when it comes to a certain talent or skill, you're like, yes, give me more of that. And you're going to move slowly, you're going to move more gradually. Good food and company can be satisfying for you as well. And maybe a good few recipes, or there are certain foods or certain people or products that you continuously return to, right? And you may be just in moving, you don't want to move, basically. You do not want to move from those things. They are so valuable to you. You can, of course, like I was saying, you can be slow at getting things started. It can maybe take you a while to really get you to feel that urge, feel that drive, that push to start something. But once you're moving, you are persistent and you're determined. It's like, well, I've already started it. I'm going to keep going. And you can also be rather patient, and you'll wait for rewards to materialize. You will wait. And that patience is so admirable. You may even just be very dedicated in this way. And you may also be recognized in a way for your persistence, for your determination. However, there can be times when you become maybe a bit too lazy, sluggish, flat. But you know what? Maybe this stuff is about helping you recognize just what doesn't really light you up as much. If you do find yourself becoming, I can't be bothered with that, I don't really want to do that, maybe you can take that as a bit of a signal that something might need to change for you. There may be a need to switch things up. And this is where we notice that the secondary progressed Mars moving into Gemini at some point throughout your life could be very, very useful for you. It could be useful because Mars, the secondary progressed Mars entering Gemini, could be that kick off. Okay, let's start something different. Let's switch things up. Let's change scenery. And at the same time, whilst you thrive on routine and consistency. Continuously doing the same things can become sort of monotonous. And that, yeah, I feel like that speaks to what I was just saying. So you can have this tendency of sticking to what you know and then becoming stuck in a rut. Almost kind of saying, hey, you know what? You've outgrown this situation. Kind of think of those, if you are a Mars and Taurus individual and you do enjoy gardening or plants or whatever, think of, a plant that has grown so much, but it needs a new home. You need to place it into another home where it's bigger and they can thrive. So again, relate this to the secondary progress Mars eventually, entering Gemini. And again, you want to think about degrees and everything and just look at your own chart. But Mars and Gemini, and just Gemini in general, can teach you a lot about, okay, well, maybe it is about, trying something in a different way or coming up with new ideas. Okay, so as for anger, when angry, you try to control it, I think. And I think as well, you give people warning. It's like, you're annoying me. I've warned you. Stop. But then it's kind of that thing of poking the bull, no pun intended, just poking. So whilst you can be slow to anger and you try to remain calm, if someone pushes you far enough, you'll not hold back. It's just that it's the raging bull. It's just coming at people, and it's hard to stop you in your tracks. Mars and Gemini, folks. So you tend to be motivated by really any form of media or stimulation that keeps your interest. I want to say something just from my own personal experience right now. So we have Jupiter in Gemini here. Jupiter is in Gemini end of May 2024 for the next year, right? And Jupiter in Gemini, so far for me, has actually felt pretty exciting. I have felt that slight overwhelm of my I'm being distracted. I'm jumping from one thing to the next. But there's also this feeling of joy and happiness within it because it's Jupiter. But to compare this to, what was it? End of 2022, I believe, when we had the Mars retrograde in Gemini, that was actually very chaotic for me. Maybe it's because with Mars, it's more of that kind of aggressive, push, just do it, that kind of influence. So bringing it back to you, if you have Mars in Gemini, you may feel this, right? You may feel like this push or this call of, oh, I need to start this, and I need to go over here and do this. And you could just juggle a lot of projects, right? Juggling so many projects at once, and you feel this passion, you feel this push to want to do it all. So when we think about the media stuff, the mental stimulation stuff, so this stuff could be about music, writing, reading, art, design, starting a new activity. I mean, you can learning something new, learning how to roller skate, learning how to cook something new, learning how to make coffee properly, going to the gym, having a conversation with a close friend. So it's like you are pulled in so many different directions. And so in this way, you're open to fascinating and exciting experiences, right? There is this liveliness, this youthfulness, and there's just always something new and fresh to learn, which can be great. So all of this is to say, Mars and Gemini, you are motivated by these things, which sounds like a lot of fun. And you might learn a little bit of this and a little bit of that. So something from each project that you start, and then you kind of mix them all together, and then you become really knowledgeable and informative and highly educated, right? However, you often, well, you have the reputation of not finishing what you start. And this, hey, this is not necessarily a bad thing, okay? But the not finishing what you start, before you know it, you're already on to the next shiny new thing. And I like to think of Gemini as the magpie of the zodiac, right? Because this is what magpies do. They see something shiny and they're like, oh, I'm going to investigate that, be curious about that. So you could be like this. And so it could get to a point where you just spread yourself way too thin. And then it's hard to really finish things. So this can obviously be a bit of an issue if there are deadlines, if there are things that need to be finished, yes. But if this is just solely about passion and creativity and enjoyment or whatever, it's all good, right? That's okay. Then again, you can also multitask. You can multitask, or you can kind of just jump from activity to activity, right? And you can have this way of, okay, I can do this. I can keep up with this. And maybe it's about finding your flow, or this is about the secondary progress Mars entering Cancer throughout your life. So with the secondary progress Mars in Cancer, and just the sign of Cancer overall, maybe you can learn, something about this flow, being receptive, or maybe being somewhat tenacious and somewhat determined, like Cancer can be, right? Cancer is this leader, as an archetype. It is this cardinal sign. So maybe you come to learn, how to really focus on the things that matter to you emotionally, and then you can have this driving forward attitude as well. Plus, you might even just revisit a program at a later stage, right? That's the big possibility. You could just do something for a period of time and you put it on the shelf, right? It's there. And then maybe a while later, it's there, it comes back. You bring it back, you bring it off the shelf, and it's maybe more relevant at the time. It maybe fits in with something that you're currently going through. So there's always the interesting kind of benefits to this, I guess. Now, when angry, you'll either use your words to express it. Yes, certainly. Or you'll process your anger using logic. Okay. Maybe it can even be a bit of a Jekyll and Hyde situation, where there can be times when you handle angry situations more sort of rationally and like logically. Okay, let's talk about this, let's go over this. But then there can be other times, maybe it depends on the situation, but there can be other times where it's like, there's no holding back. Okay, this other side of you is coming out, it's coming out to play, and you're not apologizing for it. Mars and Cancer individuals, you tend to be motivated by your feelings, your family, your past conditioning. So in this way, this can be a bit of a tricky one, okay? Because, for example, whatever was reflected to you from your parents growing up in terms of, how they dealt with anger or how they dealt with disagreements, stuff like this, you may mirror that. You may unconsciously bring the way your parents or your family dealt with anger into your relationships later on. Naturally, what I'm saying here, it's not black and white. It's not like it's doing that is all bad or negative or anything like that. But I'm just saying it just really, it just depends here. So for instance, if your parents would scream at each other, yell at each other, you might find yourself yelling like really yelling within relationships, within your own family, and you think, oh, I'm doing that because that is what was, taught to me through my own family, my own upbringing. Or if your parents were more quiet, or hey, avoidant, passive, maybe passive aggressive tendencies there, then here we go. You could do that. Your instincts and your intuition often run the show, you see. But it can be to such a point where it's like you're so pushed. See, Mars is this aggressive, forward, pushing sort of energy. And so it could be where your own emotions and your reactions to things, they run the show, right? They are in control. So maybe for you, it's important to do that reflection. And if you're not willing to change your automatic way of doing things, then this is where we notice potential issues within relationships, especially when it comes to those emotional connections and those emotional bonds. It is likely that you feel your emotions intensely, very intensely. And if something does feel off, you can sense it without being able to explain why. How you feel leads the way over logic. It leads the way. But you see, I also think that you can be this emotional leader, right? You can pick up then on, if something does feel off, or if you feel a certain way, and then you can have that bravery, that courage to express, to kind of share, hey, this is how I'm feeling. And then there could even be an open sort of discussion there. And I also see this as you being great, when it comes to business, because you have that empathy. You can pick up on other people's feelings and emotions in this regard. And whilst you prefer, to really remain within your comfort zone, you actually surprise yourself with your strong ability to adapt. This is the thing. Cancer is such a tenacious sign. And even though, yeah, you prefer to move slowly when it comes to change, and you may not like change. No, you may not like change very much, Mars and Cancer natives. But whilst you can be like this, yeah, whenever you just throw yourself into it, whenever there is this strong urge or this feeling of, right, this is the next step, this is the next chapter, you will adapt. This is about survival after all. You will adjust accordingly and then lead. You can be passionate. You can be very driven, very shrewd. And like I said, very good at business. But here's the thing. Your emotional security comes first. Plus, I also think that you are very protective of your family, very protective of your loved ones. And when we explore the secondary progress Mars, right? So the secondary progress Mars would eventually move into Leo. This is where we really see you eventually coming to this point of, okay, I'm just going to authentically lead here. See, here's the thing. With having Mars in Cancer, of course, it's in its fall, right? Mars is in its fall in Cancer. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I think with having Mars in Cancer, what can often happen is, when it comes to being a leader, for instance, you might sort of take other people's feelings very personally. I've witnessed and I have observed people who have Mars in Cancer, and they can just become so caught up in an argument or a confrontation, just conflict, whatever it is. It could just be a simple disagreement, and they're crying or they're becoming very swept up in it. But I think the secondary progress Mars and Leo kind of assists you with, hey, you know what? I am here. I'm worthy. I'm here for a reason. I'm being recognized. I know what I'm doing. And maybe this also looks at, you eventually becoming, very proud of yourself, very proud of your abilities. Oh, yes. Perhaps you really come to be proud of yourself. And The other thing about this is you will not force yourself to do something you don't like. If you really feel like, this thing isn't for me, it doesn't feel right, because things can fluctuate for you. There could be certain motivations that just are no longer there for you. And you're not going to force yourself just to push through and just to do it, right? So that can be really useful for you. And if you have to, you might pout. If there is even like a setback or a loss in your life, there can be this kind of, that didn't work out. It's, it's that emotional thing with Mars and Cancer. Now, when angry, yes, you may prefer to deal with things indirectly, right? You may cry, you just might, and you may tear up or just become emotionally caught up in it. You may also lose control during times when it all becomes too much, right? Really just losing control. You could lash out. Yeah, you could even just bottle things up and feel like, I need to be here to support everyone. I think about my family, my loved ones, etc., people in my close circle. And it could just get to a point where you're thinking, you know what, my cup is full. It is full. I need to think about myself, and you need that release. Maybe the release can be really cleansing and really helpful for you. Okay, Mars in Leo. Mars and Leo folks, you tend to be motivated by romance, attention, gifts possibly, being seen, being desired. Maybe this is so important to you when it comes to relationships. It's like, you must see me, you must recognize me, you must love me. And you're also motivated by fun, play, doing things that excite you. Maybe for you, it's just that it's the feelings, the passions, to do with fun and spontaneity, just being very lively. Maybe doing something creative is just, it is for you. You prefer to take part in activities that you are genuinely passionate about, that you genuinely love. And if you feel like, hey, you know what, I don't love this, my heart doesn't burn for it, or my passion doesn't burn for it, you're like, no, it's not for me. Enjoying yourself is a must. So I would say enjoyment, entertainment, these things are very much what you're motivated by. And how you motivate yourself then is really about things that you do during your spare time. Maybe you are someone with Mars and Leo, and there's certain movies you love, or comics that you read, or certain characters that you're so interested in. And during your spare time, it's like, yes, this is my hobby. I love this so much. And it just keeps you going. You can't get enough. Moreover, you can be super energetic, actually, very energetic, very enthusiastic about things, especially whenever you're having a good time. I think this is the important part of it. You need to be having a good time in order to feel like, hey, this is great, and there's more energy then. The more of a good time you're having, the more fun that you're having, then the more like energy is going to go into it. And yeah, it's great that way. You're often as well playful with others, but you can't stand competition. So if you can sense that others are trying to compete with you, right? If they're trying to be super competitive with you, or petty, or whatever, or just unnecessarily like dramatic about things, or causing drama, then you may actually be really quick to cut that off really fast. But you may also like to tease others, or be quite flirty and fun, right? There's this playfulness, really. And you show great willpower when it comes to reaching your goals. However, you can also be domineering. Still, you radiate confidence and you do not give up easily. And when you do not get your way, you will let others know about it. But I think this is where learning from Virgo can be helpful and where the secondary progressed Mars can come into play. The secondary progressed Mars in Virgo may communicate this message of a little bit of humility. Mars and Leo, try to remain humble here. Or, you know what? You're not going to get your way all the time. Sometimes it's other people that come first in this regard. Or perhaps Mars, the secondary progressed Mars in Virgo, even teaches you a thing or two about your health, right? Really looking after your health there. And because with Mars and Leo, you can get caught up, and I suppose we're getting into the anger part, but you can really get caught up in being so like pissed at people and holding on to that anger because Leo is this fixed sign. So maybe Mars and Virgo can teach you a thing or two about, okay, well, is that good for you? Is that good for your health to do that, to hold on to that? So moving on to this then, when angry, others will know. I've seen this. Okay, I have people in my life who have Mars and Leo. I have seen this firsthand. When you're angry, you will express it openly and directly. There is no messing about. If someone threatens you, you'll not back down. You can be courageous in this way. You can. But there is that strong anger that can be let out. But hey, this is also looking at the strength of your will and the strength of your heart. You can be very determined individuals, right? So when it comes to goal setting, very willful, very driven, very determined, seeing things through until the very end. But that passion must remain. So Mars and Virgo folks, you tend to be motivated by your hygiene, by your health, and by your daily routines and your daily habits. If anything is off, for instance, when it comes to your daily habits and your daily routines, it is enough to set you off and just to be really annoyed. It could be the littlest thing that you had planned out within your day and it doesn't happen. And you're like fussing about it, freaking out about it. Naturally, Virgo is a mutable sign, and so you can adjust, you can adapt, but it just takes a bit of this release. You're also motivated by the role that you have at work. So maybe for you, the position that you have, the position that you're known for, or the sort of the duties that you perform, the tasks that you do, motivated by those. And maybe a part of it as well is that people who you work with do an excellent job too, because you'll want to do an excellent job, yes, within your occupation, but also at home. And so your coworkers, right? Even if you're a Mars and Virgo individual and you've hired people, you have employees, oh my goodness, you are going to want excellent performance from them. And when it comes to, work reviews, stuff like that, you're going to be very to the point about things that they need to improve. But you can also be like this with yourself. Plus, you can be like this with people at home, with your children, with your spouse, with your family. Yes, you may not hold back from just saying that critical thing. And I've seen this in action. I know of people who have Mars and Virgo, and it's an interesting dynamic because I have a Virgo rising as well. And then I think to myself, no, my way of doing it is perfect. It's perfectly fine. Anyway, so yes, if you've got Mars and Virgo, perhaps you can relate. And hey, as for the hygiene stuff, Very important. Same with the health stuff. If you detect that something is up with your health, you're quick to think about, right, what do I do about this? How can I solve this? I need to help myself. And as for hygiene, you may be very, concerned, or you may really look at your hygiene as important, basically. So if you recognize, oh, I did that task and I smell, or my hair isn't sitting right, or it's not as clean as I want it to be. Oh yeah, you're going to take action then. But really, you're going to take those practical steps. You're going to do something. And you'll also take practical steps toward reaching your goals too. And there is a ton of planning that goes into your projects. Yes, you want to make sure that you have all of your ducks in a row before you take action. You want to make sure that you have all the research that you've done, you're well informed, you know what you're doing, and then you move. You're not just going to jump in blindly. You also prefer to do things correctly the first time around. And hey, whenever you don't do things correctly the first time around, it could be a fuss. It could be like, oh no, why? You can be quite impatient that way, I think. Yeah, you may also be quick to point out other people's mistakes to correct them. And if they don't do things correctly the first time around, you may be quick to say that as well. And you can also be sensitive to other people's criticisms. So if somebody else suggests a different way, then you're like, no. Right, we were talking about with Gemini. Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. Virgo is also a mutable sign. So you can have this sort of tasking thing going on with you as well, where there's many tasks and you're trying to get through it all. But you may later then complain that you do too much. You could complain, it's only me that does this. I can't believe it. I'm always doing this. No one's helping me. No one's supporting me. But then you see, when people do try to help you, you're already like on them, you're not doing it right, right? I'm laughing, by the way, because, hey, like I said, I've seen this in action. I've seen this. And it can be difficult for you to relax. It can be difficult, especially for you to relax your mind. But here's the thing about it too. You feel satisfied after accomplishing things. So after an accomplished day, you get into bed and you're like, yes, I feel like I won today. I feel great. So maybe just the thought of getting through those tasks and things, that is enough to motivate you. But here is where we want to learn from the secondary progressed Mars in Libra a little bit, because the secondary progressed Mars in Libra says balance, coming to learn balance, coming to learn how to sort of balance your tasks in a way where you're not snapping at people or picking at people or criticizing yourself or becoming annoyed because you didn't get that one thing done and you didn't do it correctly the first time around, right? Yeah, Mars in Libra can assist you with a little bit of well, let's just say more kindness, more thoughtfulness, and greater harmony. However, when angry, you'll use your words to tear others to shreds. you know, you know how to hurt someone because you know of other people's, well, their weaknesses, their mistakes, their insecurities, because you're very observant. You're picking up on all of these little things. And whilst you don't like to get emotional, okay, you can, and yeah, you can be reserved, right? You can prefer to kind of be a bit more reserved, even if there is that anger present. You may go into this kind of logic, this reason part, so sort of similar to the Mars and Gemini. And at the same time, you don't tolerate rudeness. Just no disrespect, rudeness. It's a big no for you. But hey, even though, okay, sure, you can have this side of you where you're more reserved and you don't like to become emotionally swept up in it whenever you are angry. You can also experience these times when it is just like, and you're using your words, and it does come across as like, do not mess with me. Mars in Libra, folks. You tend to be motivated by your relationships, by feedback, preferably positive feedback. Motivated by beauty, by business deals, things like this. And you're also motivated by keeping up appearances, okay? Making things appear nice and kind. Yes, aesthetically speaking as well, you may be really motivated. So to have things looking beautiful within your home, your outfit looking nice and pretty, or making sure that your hair and your jewelry, whatever it is, that things look beautiful. Just even coming across as delightful, as graceful, graceful, even just being motivated by, the give and take within relationships, making sure that there's harmony there, there's a nice energy flow there, you're able to relate. Maybe relating is very, very important to you if you have Mars and Libra, and you can sense, whenever things feel off balance, or you can sense whenever there is a push, like this forceful energy. You're drawn toward activities that involve collaborating with others. I think collaboration means a lot to you. So you would maybe rather collaborate with someone on a project than just do the project on your own. It's not to say that you can't or don't do projects on your own. It's just more that whenever you do pair up with someone else, you may feel more driven. You may feel more passionate or motivated, And you can sense, like I was saying, when you share a mutual connection and when you don't, you can sense that. For you, I feel there needs to be some type of common ground. You need to feel like there is some type of similarity. There is a relatability. What can we relate over? What can we bond over? What can we share, right? So sharing, I feel, is very, very important to you. But if there's too much difference, if there's too much disagreement, or if you're just not aligned with another person and it's more on the other side, then yeah, you're like, what's the point? I don't know. I don't really why am I talking to this person? I can't really relate to them. Anyway, if something feels off balance within the relationships, yes, you may want to restore it, the actual relationship itself. Okay, let's talk about this. Or I'm noticing that you're a bit off, or the give and take. There's something going on there. You may want to restore that. But just as much, you see, if something feels off balance and you feel like there's nothing I can do here, you may actually then decide, well, we're not a good match. Moreover, often you feel inspired by other people's actions, but you can also subtly take the lead. And it's a really interesting thing because I have many people in my life who have Mars and Libra, and I still don't understand how you do this. But there's just this way that you have of being able to direct others, lead, guide, but not appearing like you are, right? You may even influence other people to do some work or put in effort or to lead in a way, but it's you that still is the one who's driving that. Yeah, you can be even motivated by partnerships, right? like I was saying earlier as well, business deals, and even just knowing how to negotiate. You could be very good at that. However, you also have the tendency of people pleasing or going along with what others are doing, even though you don't want to. So these could be some issues that you come up against. And of course, indecision can play out. Yeah, indecision could very well be a play here. So maybe this is where the secondary regress Mars and Scorpio can be of use to you, can be really helpful for you. So maybe coming to learn how to just be more direct, to initiate from this place of, right, I'm focused on this, just this is the way it is. Even just getting to the root of a situation, getting to the heart of the matter could be big here. And even just working with your own shadow, right? Recognizing within yourself, why am I people pleasing? What's going on there? Looking deeper at that. So that could be really helpful for you. Though I do want to say here, I'm saying here about going along with what others are doing, even though you don't want to. I also think there can be times when it depends, I think, because I think that if a situation is unfair to you or you notice injustice, if you notice that something isn't right, then you're more willing to speak up. You're more willing to do the right thing. Still, when angry, you may be passive. You could even lean more toward passive aggressive. Instead of openly expressing your anger, you can be insincere, or you may rely on others to sort of do the talking for you. So there could be some of that going on. But again, I do think that eventually you come to be more direct about these matters. Mars in Scorpio. Okay, so what motivates Mars in Scorpio? You tend to be motivated by, well, power, intimacy, research, and even emotional intensity, emotional bonding. I think that you may also be motivated by money, that's a possibility, investments, or just becoming this powerful figure within your field, whatever you're in, whatever field you're a part of, your areas of expertise, just getting to this point of, I know what I'm doing. I know what I stand for. You also prefer to cut through anything insignificant, anything superficial. So any of this sort of superficial stuff is like, no, you cut through it, you may even just get rid of it, or you may even just be motivated by your ability to go deeper, right? To go much deeper into things, to investigate further. Perhaps you possess strong desires, really, really strong desires, and your emotions and your desires can drive you towards achieving success. It's this thing of, if you ever feel like people are trying to knock you down, or if you have been knocked down, if you have been disrespected in life, you get right back up there and you prove people, you know what? No, you're not the boss of me. You didn't defeat me. If anything, I'm even more driven than I ever was. And when you're passionate about a project, oh, you can be all consuming. I mean, you're the types of people who may work, 12-hour days on a business that you have, possibly even longer. You may even just not know when to stop. You could be like a work demon in this way. Just the passion is there. You're going to keep going, push, 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 push. Oh yeah. Not only do you have strong willpower, but your focus is unbreakable. Nothing can break your focus. Like, there is that concentration. And maybe, a big part of this is like your emotions are really coming up in that. When you want something here, Mars and Scorpio folks, you will fight tooth and nail for it. Nobody can stop you. And I mean, nobody. And even if people try to stop you, you're going to prove them wrong. They'd better watch out. They'd better watch out. And whilst you may remain sort of calm on the surface, okay, kind of controlled, underneath the surface, there is this volcano that can explode at any time. So people better be mindful of what button they push with you, the trigger that can be pushed and then you're set off. However, you can also experience moments of self-loathing, leading to self-destructive behaviors. And I guess this is the thing about Scorpio, the Phoenix, the Scorpion. Yes, perhaps with Mars and Scorpio, you can go through these moments of your life where, you go down this self-destructive path, or maybe this was you whenever you were quite young, less evolved, this type of stuff, but still, there could be these periods where you experience this. Or maybe the self-loathing stuff is like really you punishing yourself, or self-sabotage, right? The self-sabotage, and the minute that you do feel like you're on the upswing and you're gaining momentum, you're gaining power, and things are going well, it's almost as if there's this sneaky little part of you that's saying, oh, but we're going to destroy that, we're going to tear it down. There could be the temptation stuff with Scorpio, it's tempting. It's like tempting to go down that path again, to follow those unconscious habits again. And I guess this is where we notice with you that you make your unconscious drives and motivations conscious. And so you learn to have self-mastery there. You come to a point of, okay, I've risen here, I've went through the challenges. You become such a resilient person who does not let your past completely define you, but you also recognize that, your past is a part of you. Still, you can learn from Mars and Sagittarius. So with the secondary progressed Mars entering Sagittarius at some point throughout your life, again, we want to think about degrees and everything else, right? And understand that things can really fluctuate just depending on who you are, depending on your placement. But with Mars in Sagittarius, you can learn, okay, how can I see the bigger picture? How can I see the meaning in all of this? How can I reach greater heights? But when angry, you'll be strategic as you try to control your anger. You can have this about you. Strategic, which watch out, people, because you could move, in the darkness, and people don't realize that you're coming for them. But you can also go from 0 to 100. That is a possibility if you've got Mars in Scorpio. Mars in Sagittarius, folks, you tend to be motivated by adventure, travel, knowledge, and discovering more about life. You may be so inspired about life and just really motivated by your ability to expand and to grow. Again, travel could be a big thing here. And going on these huge trips, and this could just be an adventure within the mind. You're also motivated by your beliefs and by your morals. These things are a big part of what you're about and what drive you in life. You may even have this thing of, I practice what I preach. I live it. I breathe it. This is my experience. You may be very open and honest about what you have experienced, and even just sort of asserting yourself in this way. And you're also restless. You can be restless and eager whilst possessing this endless amount of aspirations. So sort of like, with Sagittarius, the archer, you could be pointing that arrow at a chosen target, but it could be a situation of having so many aspirations, so many visions, and wanting to make them happen. There's a part of you that wants to shoot off and achieve all of your goals. But then there's another part of you that is met with reality and can lack the follow through. That's the thing too. So narrowing your aim can be challenging. It can be challenging, but the vision and the optimism and the faith and the self-belief, all of these things are still there. Every day is a new day, every experience is a new experience. And even if you don't sort of, achieve your goals or whatever, you recognize, hey, you know what, I learned something from that, and that's great. You might also uplift others with your wildness, with your huge bursts of enthusiasm, with your positivity. And you prefer having the freedom and the space to explore whatever you're interested in. I think for you, you need to feel like you have the ability to roam, to be free, to be adventurous, but you can switch from being passionate about a project to being kind of laid back. You can be maybe too laid back at times, where it's like, oh, well, that thing's just gonna sort itself out, I don't really need to do anything. But I think this is also where you can learn from the next sign over, and you may come to learn this with the secondary progressed Mars moving into Capricorn at some point. But Mars in Capricorn says, well, the reality is here, if you want to achieve that thing, you need to put in the work. You need to put in the time. It's going to require effort. You can't just expect it to miraculously fall on your lap. Naturally, I mean, yeah, sure, there could be some sort of fate involved or a change involved or luck or whatever. You never know. You really never know. And maybe you're big on this. It's like, well, maybe I don't need to try so much because I trust. Still, I do think you can learn a thing or two from, or you do come to learn a thing or two from your secondary progressed Mars in Capricorn. And when angry, you'll either run away from the situation. You could be like, oh, I'm running away. I'm escaping all my troubles. Bye, everyone. I'm way off to another country. Or you'll confront it with strong hostility, possibly. Or you may just confront it in an argumentative way. It's like, you're messing with me? Do not think so. Perhaps you argue your point until you're blue in the face. You're just arguing your point. This is what I think. This is my truth. Or you may just blow your top completely. Mars in Capricorn, this is actually the placement that I have. So Mars in Capricorn, folks, you tend to be motivated by your accomplishments, by your achievements, security, success, order, and by gaining a reputation that, you're recognized for in a respectful way, of course. Recognition, being respected is important to you, I think. Whatever you want to achieve, you will show strong determination as you work hard for it. You will put in the hours and the time that is necessary. Now, with that being said, being a workaholic is likely, or just even being a machine. This is an interesting one because I was saying during the Mars and Taurus section that with Mars and Taurus, you can be motivated by money. With Mars and Capricorn, you can also be motivated by money. And I have this placement and I would say, yes, sure, there is a part of me that's motivated by money, and that's okay. But perhaps that even translates especially into security and success as well. And then as for the machine stuff, I get that I have to recognize that I'm not a machine. I'm a human. I'm a human being. I'm not a machine. But there are times whenever the machine stuff I find to be motivated by it. Even thinking about these new videos that I've been creating recently about the planets through the signs and the houses, and just putting them all into one video, I'm feeling passionate about this. I'm excited. this is a big new project for me. And I'm like, yes, I can't wait to get through it. And I've been feeling like a machine. Yeah, next one, machine, get it done. So in a positive light, I'm like, give it to me. But I also recognize that you can't be a machine forever. And I also need to rest. And if you have Mars in Capricorn, maybe this is something you got to recognize within yourself that, yes, workaholic tendencies may not be very good for you. Looking after yourself is important. And it may take you many years to achieve your goals. It may also take you many years to learn this idea that you're not actually a machine. But you have the stamina. You still have the stamina. You have the endurance to keep going. My goodness, the amount of setbacks I've come up against, it has been crazy. But I get right back up there and I'm like, right, okay, keep going, keep going. Eventually, you see, you reach your own mountain of success, whatever your mountain of success is. And like I said, you will come up against these setbacks. You will come up against obstacles along the way, but they also become a part of the challenge. And maybe even overcoming those obstacles, you think, yes, I got through that. And that within itself motivates you. Still, becoming an expert in whatever project you're working on, within whatever field, whatever, you will want to be an expert. That will be sought after. And you will want to be more of a professional. The goals you set for yourself as well may be somewhat more realistic. Now, like I said, I have Mars in Capricorn, but Neptune and Uranus are pretty close by. And some of my goals at times are not the most realistic, I guess. But if we think about you having Mars and Capricorn as a placement, yeah, and you may prefer to keep things more realistic, more practical, down to earth, and your actions will be well planned and organized. I have set out a plan for myself. For instance, I'm so glad to my Saturn return because I've learned so much about planning and everything. Oh, then again, you can also be cynical. Sure, you can be skeptical, but it can also at times lean towards being cynical or being overly pessimistic, negative about things, being too serious about things, too serious about your goals and everything. Not much time then, maybe for family matters or off time, stuff like this, back to the workaholic stuff. So on that note, maybe the secondary progressed Mars in Aquarius for you comes along throughout your life and actually teaches you a thing or two, about thinking outside of the box, maybe trying different strategies, different approaches. There could be this sort of fresh idea, a different point of view, a different perspective that can be gained as you do grow. But when angry, you prefer to remain level-headed. You do. I think you prefer to keep yourself calm and okay, think this through, but you do not tolerate disrespect. The moment that you can pick up on someone being disrespectful, not noticing you, not recognizing you, oh, it's game over. Moving on to Mars in Aquarius, folks. So Mars in Aquarius, you tend to be motivated by, humanitarian causes, technology, original ideas, and motivated by your communities. You're also motivated by freedom and your independence. You might actually stand up for equality, stand up for humanity. You may defend human welfare. You dream of a better world. You may have your own sort of ideals of what the perfect world looks like, or maybe not perfect, but just a better world, a world where people get along and people have greater freedom. And you do not conform to what the rest of society thinks or says. And maybe, you could very well offend others with your controversial opinions, but just because you offend others with your controversial opinions, that doesn't bother you because you think, no, it's not, but it's not though. It's actually, it's the truth. It's what I think. These are my opinions. And maybe you also think to yourself, well, yeah, change is necessary. We need change here within society. And you can see, perhaps more than most, how unfair certain systems are, for instance, within society. So, yeah, I think there's a big part of this where you're motivated by making changes within the world, within humanity, maybe even just being motivated by the very clubs and groups that you're a part of and sharing in that space and being able to exchange ideas with others, and even perhaps you like to experiment with new ways of doing things. You can show great focus and great strength. Indeed, when we think about here, achieving your goals, so when it comes to achieving your goals, you are going to focus and you're going to show that determination, but you also value freedom. Your value for freedom can often have you trying something new, this push for freedom. So the minute that it feels like, you're being confined or limited in some way, shape, or form, then you may seek to break out of that. So for me, like I was saying, I have Mars in Capricorn natally, but then we've been saying throughout this video, the second I progress, Mars can be important. Within my chart, the second I progress, Mars is in Aquarius, and my Mars in Capricorn is still a part of me. It's still, I would say it's still in the front seat, if you will. But my second I progress, Mars in Aquarius, I can see within me more strongly. I can see that I don't like to be confined in this way. I like to make my own schedules, my own times. I need that freedom. Yes, if you have Mars in Aquarius, you don't like feeling restricted. Now, this is not to say that you can't work with structure. Of course, Aquarius is still ruled by Saturn. You can, but it's more if there is this kind of domineering approach, or if you even find yourself within a role and you can sense shady business and it doesn't sit well with you, you may be very quick to sort of go, that's not for me. No. Imagine that energy too, just within your everyday life, dealings with people. You make for a great leader with plenty of vision. Plenty of vision. Others may follow the trends that you set, but I guess the thing about this is the trends that you set and this kind of leadership quality that you have to you, these things may not be super emotional in a way, or more idealistic. And so this is where you can learn, or you come to learn, about the secondary progress Mars in Pisces. So if you have this natally, Mars in Aquarius, depending on your chart, of course, but the secondary progress Mars can move into Pisces. So you may learn then how to be more of a gentle leader, or more of an empathetic way. You could have more of this empathetic way of sort of sharing your big views, your opinions, things like this. But still, when angry, you may either detach, bye, or you may say whatever it is that's on your mind. Just gonna argue with you to the death, like, no, this is what I think. Others will not know what hit them, especially because I think you can play this rule of, I'm going to observe, right? You can have these moments of, I'm going to observe, I'm just going to listen here. But then just as much, you can have these moments of surprising others, shocking others, because you're so vocal and you're not going to move. You're not going to change your opinion either. Lastly, we have Mars in Pisces, folks. Mars in Pisces, you tend to be motivated by spirituality, by your dreams, films, music, art, symbolism, dance. The possibilities may actually be endless in a way, but really, I think a lot of this comes back to creativity, being artistic. You're very artistic people, and you are moved, you are really moved. Your motivations could fluctuate in this way. You prefer to go where the wind blows. You prefer to go where, your heart sings. It's like, oh, my heart, I'm feeling this way. And so you'll go with the flow. You possess even this go with the flow attitude, and maybe you even trust, right? So you sort of trust that, hey, this is the project that I'm working on now, and then I'm going to go on to something else. There may be many creative and spiritual projects that you move between, and you may also have this attitude of everything on its own time frame, or even what even is time anyway, doesn't really matter. I'm just going with the flow. Some may not get completed, but it's like, so I don't care. I don't care if it didn't get completed. Maybe you could have this attitude of, well, wasn't meant to be, right? It just wasn't aligned with me, it wasn't the right time. And you'll think to yourself, it's all relevant. You also prefer to spend time alone to recharge your energy levels. I think this is what you need. You need to have this time in solitude, or this time escaping reality for a few hours. By doing so, this is great for your body, great for your soul. If you can feel yourself, for example, becoming so caught up in your everyday tasks, responsibilities, stuff like this, you may just go, no, drop it all. I need to relax. You may listen to music, you may paint, you may draw, whatever. You will do these things to help bring you back to center. Very cleansing, very refreshing indeed. You can also show a great deal of empathy toward others, especially towards the vulnerable, towards the lost. Others then can be moved by your kindness, by your compassion, by your generosity. However, you may lack healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries where you recognize, okay, emotionally speaking, I've been giving a lot of myself. Or, there could also be moments of people mistaking your kindness, your generosity, your kindness for weakness. And then you may become really outraged, so angry. You may also, become very, very angry by people who are manipulative, or they are very unfair, or they're cruel, very cruel toward others, people who hurt children or animals, whatever have you. Oh, yeah. But I think you can learn in a way from how the second retrograde Mars moving into Aries can be helpful, how that can be a time of you being able to just be direct, right? To be direct about, hey, this is my time frame, or this is a boundary, this is what I want. Because I think with having Mars and Pisces, there could be some guilt involved in this. I feel guilty if I say it like this, but I do think you come to be more direct and even somewhat assertive. Still, when angry, especially maybe when you're younger, you can typically be passive. Again, this is where the second retrograde Mars can be useful. But you do prefer a peaceful approach. But hey, even if things are not peaceful, when pushed, okay, when really pushed by others and people are not choosing to be peaceful or mindful of others' feelings, people are not being so compassionate and empathetic, oh my goodness, you can become so enraged, and you could very well become consumed by your anger. Your emotions can just take over within the heat of the moment. So yes, there can certainly be moments, Mars in Pisces, where your anger is hard to control, and I think it just takes someone just constantly pushing and pushing. But maybe at the same time, it's a release point. Maybe for you, it's coming to learn how to release, how to let that anger out. So this has been the Mars signs. Thank you all so much for being here. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know what your Mars sign is. Did you resonate with the information? And again, I want to say thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon. If you would like to join the Patreon, you can do so by going to the link in the description box. There you can find daily forecasts and PDF guides, etc. Thank you all so much for listening today. And if you would like to book a reading with me, you can go to hannahselsewhere.com. And of course, if you would like to buy me a coffee and you enjoyed this video today, the link is right there. No pressure, of course. Overall, thank you all so much. And remember to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I will talk to you in the next video. Bye!